Hi, friends. In our time together today, we're digging a little further into helpful practice recommendations. In the video yesterday, I introduced practice generally. And from that, you might even have enough ideas to just run off and have a great practice life. Um, I said what practice does, and it's gives us bite-sized pieces to consume and work on so that our growth is layering at a time. You're not going to go from this is where I am today to I've got my own record label tomorrow. That's a progressive path. And so you need to identify the stepping stones along the path, and you just pay attention to them and you practice them. We'll call that the stepping stone method. I said we were going to be practical today, and I haven't identified that one, but that's a clever way to do it. I have a different. I have two other ways to do that one thing, but I'll add that in as another one if for those of you more visual. I'll put a link to that first video at the top and to the end of this one. Today, I really want us to dive into some practical recommendations on practice. That means that we're diving into how do I layer skills, tunes I know, and tunes I'm learning as a practical method of practicing. All right. Our goal is to be better whistle musicians. Low whistle, high whistle, in the middle whistle, doesn't matter. I want to play better, and I can't play better by just want. I have to play better by intent and practice. And so I take things I need to work on, and those things are skills, tunes I know, tunes I'm learning, and I work on them. So the first method I'm going to recommend has two primary iterations with it. And I'll throw the stepping one in too, just as a gimme, and I'll mention how you might do that one if you want. These first two methods are for people that are organized by nature and who like to check things off a list or who like to schedule things on a calendar. If that is you, then one of these two practice methods is going to be your favorite. And if that's not you, then please listen because it'll be helpful, but don't feel like you've got to do it. So think about skills, those items that are dexterity, they are tone quality, breath control, hole coverage, ornamentation, expression, speed, that whole list of things. And then you're thinking like ornamentation, you're thinking, well, I've got cuts, I've got taps, I've got vibrato, crayons, slides. Woo, boy, you could list those out if you want. So just think about all those, have all those in your mind, and then understand the tunes you currently know. Make a checklist that has three primary columns: skills, tunes I know, tunes I'm learning. And you could do this, you could work your checklist for, I'd say, a minimum of 2 weeks. Or up to a month, not longer than a month. Some people find 3 weeks on this method their best, but 2 weeks works for me if I'm trying to follow this one, and I never follow it long. So you list all those skills I mentioned, but under ornamentation, I break out the specifics, and then write out all the tunes you know, and you're like, oh, please. Okay, if you know that many tunes, don't write out all the tunes you know. But on your next checklist, you're going to have to write out the rest of them, okay? So what you do is today, when you practice, Oh, one thing I didn't mention, I put scale exercises in the list of skills. The reason is that scale exercises are a primary driver for practicing our skills. And that's why scale exercises are designed. That's what they're designed to accomplish, is to enable you to work on skills. So the first method is you just make a big like spreadsheet thing. And then today you can't do everything. You can't do everything at once. Today I'm practicing my tone quality. I'm going to focus on tone quality today and dexterity and whole coverage because those three are so tied together. And I'm going to do a particular scale exercise for that. I check all those off after I practice it. Just put a little check mark beside it. And then I'm going to play, and then I'm going to work on two tunes that I already know. And I'm going to really work on those. Okay? And that might be all I do today. Well, that might be all I do today from a practice standpoint. I didn't even say work on a new tune. All work and no play makes Jack a very dull boy, as the phrase goes. So focus on your skills. Focus on tunes you know. Sure, maybe work on learning a new tune, but you've got to have time to play. And by play, I mean grab one of those tunes that you just practiced and just have fun with it. No judgment, no stopping, just play, have a blast, and if you mess up, who cares? Because you're just having fun. Sometimes I just pick up the whistle and mess around. Nothing wrong with that at all. So, one way to do the list of making sure you go through everything for organized people is make a checklist. At the end of 2 to 3 weeks, you'll have checked off everything in those lists at least once. All the skills, I need you to have checked those off at least 2 to 3 times each. Because if you haven't worked, you need to work on every skill at least once a week. Okay? That's very important because they are the foundational core to our success as musicians. So what if you don't practice every tune you know this week or this month even? That's fine. I've got tunes I learned that I haven't looked at in a couple months. And I should do better about pulling up some of the old ones because I really like them. I will do that better because I have a recommendation for that in a bit. So anyway, you're going through, you're working on your list. 2 to 3 weeks later, you've checked everything off. Throw it away. Start your list again. Now, here's the thing. I already said, scale exercise to practice my skills. And I also, when I'm going through and rehearsing and learning and experimenting with the tunes I know to try and improve my ability with them, that is when I take a lot of the skills and I experiment with them further. And that's why I say you probably need to, at some point, you need to just stop working on all that and just play and have fun. So anyway, the second iteration of that style is instead of creating like a spreadsheet checklist, at the start of the month or at the start of every other week, take a calendar and write Monday I'm gonna do whole coverage, tone quality, and dexterity or speed. And on Tuesday I'm gonna do emotion, and on Wednesday I'm gonna do this. And every Monday is cut and tap day. I don't know, whatever you want to do. And then put that on a calendar and then write a couple of tunes you're going to work on and throw a new tune in you're going to work on one day. And if you're working on a new tune, then don't spend too much time on tunes you already know. Because working on a new tune takes me a good while. So the checklist thing can also be done on a calendar. And a lot of people like that. So anyway, that's another way to do this. And make sure you kind of get a balance of, the next 2 to 3 weeks should not be dominated by jigs or reels. You should have a mixture. Make sure you mix things up. Oh, wow, I haven't done a hornpipe in a month. I need to do a hornpipe. I'm going to stick it in the list. I will make myself do it. So that's where you're also learning the tune types as well. All right, those are the two. I'm an organized person. Well, you might be a very organized person. And if you are, you might like one of those. All right, here is the Scott method. I call it the stack method. It's pretty silly, but it works for me. If your method is pull it out of a hat, that's a good method. If it works for you, it's a good method. I just made up the pull it out of a hat method. You've got a container, and you write like all of you get 2 containers. You write in it everything you need to work on, and then very particular, like the name of a tune, or just put cuts or emotion, and then you reach in and you pull a thing out and go, well, I'm working on that right now, and then you put it away. But if you pull out something like cuts or taps, you put it in the revisit tub. That's a pull it out of a hat method. So you can make up anything. Anyway, the Scott stack method. This is a little funny, but it's what I do, and it works for me. So, fortunately, because I'm trying to help you all, it helps me so much. We talk about those skills so much, they're burnt into my brain. So when I start playing, the first thing I do is I start working on a scale exercise to warm myself up. And I'll play that scale exercise just to warm myself up. And then I think through, well, that scale exercise seems to work well I'm going to play it like an air, and I'm going to work on my vibrato and some slides. And then, or this scale exercise is good for speed and hole coverage, and everything's good for tone quality. So I keep my scale exercises in a manila folder. And I shuffle them, okay? And it's just this random thing. And so the scale exercise I start with is the top of the stack. And then I haven't done this yet today, so I'm not really going to do it. Then when I finish with it, I put it on the bottom. I often work through 1, maybe 2, no more than 2 scale exercises a day. And I know I reached the bottom of my shuffled stack because I've got this green piece of paper that's like, when I get down to the green piece of paper, I reshuffle and I put the green piece of paper on the bottom and I work my way down to it. And every day I'm working a different scale exercise. And that's great. One other thing I need to say before I tell you how I do the tunes is, I said all work and no play makes Jack a very dull boy. Don't fill every day with hours of practice. Don't practice until you're frustrated. Practice to help. And if you don't have time today, don't stress it. Don't always fill the time you're going to play your whistle with practice. Schedule days where you're not going through scale exercises. Schedule days where all you do is play and have fun. If you don't schedule days where all you do is play and have fun, then you're living to practice. You're not living to play. And living to play is important. So the other thing I do, the way I work through tunes is, this is manila folders full of all the tunes I have learned and worked on, and we've shared most of them together. And there's slides, a folder of slides, a folder of polkas, a folder of waltzes, reels, marches, jigs, a folder of Christmas carols, non-Irish. These also get shuffled. I take the top folder And the top tune, oh, I just band the reels folder is on top and the Banshee reel is on the top of that. I will use that as my practice. And in practicing it, I'll practice my ornaments and all that other stuff with it, my tone quality. And after I practice that, I put it on the bottom. And so my stack method. Use what works for you. So another thing though, I have 3 ways I access and find new tunes. The first is my favorite. You will all say, hey, I know this great tune. I think the community should learn. I'm like, oh, thank you. Because you all know this stuff better than I do. I mean, seriously. So you tell me tunes you want us to learn, and I always want to hear those. And I've got a list, and I was like, well, let's pull a random tune from the list, and we'll teach that one to everybody. And the other way I learn tunes is sometimes you guys recommend traditional Irish music albums, and I know some. I'll just listen while I'm out for a walk or riding my bike or doing chores, and I go, oh, I like that tune. Oh, we've never introduced that tune. Can I play that on the whistle? And maybe we'll introduce it. The other thing I do is I'll take websites like The Session and I'll go to popular tunes. I'll go a few pages in. If I know a tune, I'll skip by it and I'll start with a tune I don't know. I'll open it up and I'll start playing it and go, or, ooh, that's kind of fun. That's how I get new tunes. So, are you working through a book? Well, just work through it. A good book, though, is going to help you layer. Anyway, I've got some other recommendations from some other websites and from some books, but we're going to save those for a week or so because this is, 2 days in a row on practice recommendations. Whew. So the ones I've shared today are, if you're organized, do the spreadsheet checklist or the calendar and make sure you check things. Make sure you get everything checked off over a few week period and then start over. Wash, rinse, repeat. Do you like the idea of the hat method? Well, get a little jar or something, write everything on a piece of paper, pull it out, and that's what you're working on today. And like if you pull out, I'm going to work on this, then you could combine that with a stack method and go grab the next tune that enables you to work on that skill and go work on it. Do you like my stack method? What works for you? Are you working through a book? What works for you? I'll add some more in a week or so, but that's enough. I've given you too much to think about right now. I hope at least one of these practical practice recommendations resonates with you. I hope it helps. Until next time, my friends, go practice, but remember, all work and no play. So just go play your whistle. This is Scott Shade. Happy whistling.